As a leader, have you ever had to communicate something to your staff that changed from the previous staff meeting? You're concerned about communicating the update because you don't want to appear as if you did not include your staff voices. You see, things changed. You get worried about talking with the staff and making a mistake because they may not feel as if their voice was included in the decision. This was a conversation I recently had with an executive director who's a client of mine. We talked about how they were afraid to communicate their decision because they were concerned about the pushback from staff and whether or not they would look like a leader who was not inclusive. So I talked to them about how to act and stop overthinking the conversation. In the workplace, when people are afraid and worried about saying the wrong thing, and particularly when you're in a leadership position, this becomes one of the biggest barriers that stops workplaces from being more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. So, if this is something that you've been thinking about or struggling with, I'd suggest that you watch this video. In this video, I'm going to share 3 key things that you as a manager can do to get unstuck when it comes to having a conversation that matters in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And the last point is the one that I see people struggling with the most. My name is Karanda Ziegler, and I'm an organizational culture strategist and owner of Kalu Consulting. And I empower managers just like you to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion to create workplace cultures where leaders are not afraid, your teams are thriving, and employees are engaged. We talk about getting it right with diversity, equity, and inclusion, yet we really talk about how we get it wrong or about making mistakes. And when you are a manager or in a leadership position, mistakes matter. It's often assumed that you have to get it right in the first try because we've gotten it wrong for so long. And so you bring the pressure of getting it wrong with you in every experience every day in the workplace. And this prevents you and your organization from making significant progress in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Myself as a leader, I am notorious for bringing past mistakes to current experiences. I do this all the time. I find myself constantly thinking about all the ways that a one-on-one conversation or a team meeting could go wrong based on my past mistakes. And like you, I feel the pressure and the urgency of getting every conversation associated with diversity, equity, and inclusion right. Some days I get so stuck in the fear of getting it wrong that I never have the conversations I need to have. And then I remember that I need to stay in the present. Although we do need to get it right for today and for future generations and address past wrongs and injustices, if you stay focused on what was done in the past or worry about what will happen in the future, you as a manager will miss the opportunity in the present. Being stuck in the past or the future, you aren't able to notice the different cues in your conversation with another person, with your team, with other senior leaders. When you worry about offending and getting it wrong, you miss the very clues in the interaction in the present moment that signal to you that an offense is coming, that something wrong may happen, or you're going to cause harm. And as people, we have a habit of missing the signals that are right in front of us. Have you ever lost something only to find that it's been next to you the whole time, but you didn't pay attention to your environmental cues? It's like when I lose my keys in the morning on my way out the door because I'm in a hurry to get to my future state, and that is being at work. I don't pay attention to what's in front of me. However, if I slow down and I focus on what I'm trying to do, there are different cues within my home that reminds me where my keys were last, and I usually find them. They're right in front of my face. I was so focused on getting to where I was going, the future, that I missed and overlooked them. And I didn't notice what was in front of me. And as managers, we can go from day to day trying to get to the next fire that we need to put out, trying to get to the next conversation that we need to have, or respond to the next email. In order to be effective with communicating diversity, equity, and inclusion concerns, you have to stay focused on what's in front of you, the interaction or the conversation that you're having with someone, or facilitating the team meeting. If you want to avoid saying the wrong thing and not offending someone, then you need to react to what's in front of you. Be sure that you aren't reacting to a story from the past that you can't change or a story in the future that has yet to be written. If you do focus on the past or the future, you will make a mistake in the present moment. However, there is good news. Because in the present moment, you have a chance to fix anything you've done wrong with your team, but you won't be able to fix the conversation with a work colleague or a friend or that awkward silence in a group meeting if you don't stay present. Again, we can't change the past or predict the future, but you can control what is happening right now. So work to be in the one place that you need to be in order to shape the outcomes and have a good interaction in the present. So if you want to create better futures, you must be very intentional in the now and stay present in the moment. Be sure to focus on the outcome. If you believe that you're going to offend your team or a colleague, then you're going to be stuck in the action of trying not to offend, and you will forget the conversation you want to have. When you are preparing to mess up, then you're going to be on the defense because your focus is on the prevention of one thing instead of focusing on what you want to achieve. These two ideas, they move in opposite directions. You cannot in the same space try to block something from happening and also move things forwards. You cannot play both offense and defense at the same time. It's just not possible to play both sides. In the workplace, I know there's been times when I found myself stressed and thinking about a difficult conversation that I needed to have. Whether it was with a colleague who may have said something that was incorrect or caused harm in a meeting, or having to follow up with an employee in a performance conversation, I'm trying to be ready for whatever someone may throw at me, whatever resistance I might encounter. I'm on guard. I would find myself thinking about what to say. If they say this, then I'm going to say this, or maybe do this if they do that. I spend so much energy focused on playing defense that I never quite get to my plan for execution. I'm so focused on stopping the other person from making a play, it's exhausting. And exhaustion, we know, leads to a conflict that you cannot resolve, confusion as well as fear. Because you don't know which path to take, you get stuck and you become afraid of getting it wrong. So be sure to focus on the end goal, and that is engaging in a conversation with another person and all that comes with it. That's interacting with that person, clarifying a point, managing perceptions, and most importantly, joyful dialogue and debate. And also be sure you focus on one goal. You cannot understand a person's life experience and dissect the meaning of justice in one conversation. This is too many goals, and this too will lead to confusion. So center your energy on clear, meaningful conversation goals. If you're like me, sometimes I have to slow myself down and ask the question, what is the one thing that matters right now? And then I tell myself to do that. And what matters is you. Perhaps the most important thing that you need to remember is that we won't ever be able to break down systems and structures of oppression, eliminate racism, or create equitable and better outcomes in the workplace for different people without you. You matter. You matter in this fight for justice because as you engage in hard conversations, as you center the voice and experience of those in the margin, that is, those who have been excluded, we grow as a collective group for equitable, inclusive, and just change. When I first started consulting, I didn't realize the impact that I could have. After a few clients, I realized that the work I was doing mattered greatly in the workplace. My culture of equity training is centered on organizational groups and the changes that can take place in systems, structures, and processes. Know you have a role in dismantling systemic racism and oppression. And your role is to speak to your people and your communities that you are a part of. And no one is able to connect with the people in your family, workplace, or community groups as you can. You bring a perspective to this world, and because you care about our learning and working to practice and center diversity, equity, and inclusion, you matter greatly. You play a key role, and you have a unique perspective too. What is it? Put it in the comments below and let me know. Although it may feel scary to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion concepts, you are equipped to do so because this is not your first time around the sun, my friend. This may be your first time engaging in diversity, equity, and inclusion work or having a conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but you bring a particular perspective, a personality, and curiosity. You being you will enhance the fight for justice and our ability to address colonization, oppression, and exploitation in the workplace. You being a part of the equation leads to greater acceptance of difference. That is, embracing diversity and contributing to a more inclusive, equitable, and just workplace. So embrace your unique perspective. For deeper insights on how to address diversity, equity, and inclusion challenges, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and sign up for my email list. You can find the sign up link below in the description box. Be sure to like this video and sign up for notifications when I post a new video. And remember, no matter where you are and whatever you are doing, you totally rock.